Say Radio News, I'm Tim Berg.
Hey everybody, John DiVillero here, John DiVillero Radio Show. We're getting ready to go live again on the air here, and it should be pretty good here. So we are getting ready here, and we will start the show here again. I've had some technical difficulties, but we're working through it. We're getting ready for hour 2 here, so stay tuned.
Miles an hour.
Check, 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 test, 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 test. We're getting ready here for the show. Test, 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 check, check.
USO.org.
Okay, what's going on, everybody? It's me, John DiVillero here, John DiVillero Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We're working through it, players. We're working through it. All kinds of technical issues, different things that are happening. We're trying to make it work, no doubt about it. And we're gonna see how we get it done here. So yeah, it's a really big day here in Iowa caucuses, and a lot's happening. I had all this equipment, and we're gonna figure out how to make it work. We're making some of it work. We want to make more of it work. It was perfect. It was happening. You can see the videos up last night. I mean, and I even refined it and made it better than that. So it is what it is. This is what happens, and not unlike campaigns. On the News Talk 1040 audience out there, we're looking. This is the day. We've been hearing all about this campaign. We've been hearing all about everything. It's like it's happening. It's coming. And today's the day, players, when Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Governor DeSantis are going to face off in this caucus, the Iowa caucus. The first time voters are able to weigh in on the 2024 GOP primary, and so we're going to see what happens. I'm predicting Donald Trump's going to do incredible. I think he's going to do great, and I think a lot of people are scrambling to try to salvage any bit of credibility out of this that have maybe been against Trump. Paul, you've been following this. What do you think is going to happen tonight? Let's just start with that. What are your predictions? Is Trump going to break 50%? We both think Trump's going to win. Do you think Trump breaks 50%, and who comes in second? I have to believe. Oh, it's tough because I haven't really followed it super close. The DeSantis people are saying he's surging. I do perceive some weakness for Governor Haley, but I do think that people were sort of jumping off of the Never Trumpers, or sort of jumping off of the DeSantis train onto the Haley train. I think because of what we talked about, people trying to save face, and even locally in Iowa with Vander Plaats and some others and Steve Deese, and I think we're going to see Trump. And then I think maybe DeSantis squeaks by Haley for second, and then it's going to be Haley and Vivek. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, that's essentially what I think. I think the order of finish is going to be Trump 1, DeSantis 2, Haley 3, Vivek 4. As far as percentages, I'm going to be a little conservative. I think Trump's going to finish in the 40s. That's what I'm going to say, even though the last Trafalgar poll had him at 52%. I'm going to bring that down a little bit, say maybe Vivek surges or somebody else surges slightly. Again, DeSantis should have a good ground operation there because of how much time he spent in the state. So let's bring Trump down to, 40, 42. Then what happens? Maybe Vivek can sneak up into like 10% or something like that. Then, okay, then DeSantis and Haley. Look, you mentioned about how much money's been spent, and I saw a graph today, and this is a paraphrase. I don't want to give the wrong numbers, but I'm pretty sure this is what I saw. It said for the expenditure in Iowa, Nikki Haley, $33 million, Ron DeSantis, $25 million, Donald Trump, $18 million. I point that out because even though I don't think Haley has the ground game, which certainly hasn't been around as long, she spent a whole bunch of money. And I know people that are on the ground there who have gotten tons of mailers in the last week or so from Nikki Haley. I'm talking like 8 mailers. And do I think that's going to, really push her? I don't think so, because I don't think the electorate in Iowa is the type that she needs to do well with. And so I don't know. I would maybe DeSantis is I'll guess like 22%, and Haley's like 18% or something like that. So 42% Trump, 22% DeSantis, 18% Haley, maybe 10% Vivek, something like that. I hope that those numbers add up because I didn't check.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying there. I do think that there's a lot to be said. I feel like this is going to be very, 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 very crazy right now, and I can't wait. I want to see the faces. I want to see the faces that just all the hand wringing and oh no, it's Trump again, and how do we stop him, and oh, what a democracy, and all this stuff. Speaking of that, because this is an important point, like what about the whole situation in Atlanta? I mean, and here we go right here. We have a headline, Fox News, gloves come off as Trump and Haley duke it out in final hours before frigid caucuses. And listen, I think Governor Haley is really hasn't really how do I say? I think she's had a lot of gaffes and a lot of problems the last couple weeks, even though they're trying to show her momentum, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, and if you want to talk about the Atlanta thing, we can talk about that later. Look, I think that it's not the same as Governor DeSantis. It's really not, because I respect Governor DeSantis. I think the more you see Governor Haley,
right,
he doesn't wear that great.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening. And in fact, Trump at his rally yesterday said that in a head-to-head poll, Haley versus Biden, she's dropped 20 points in a month. He basically said flat out, she and DeSantis don't have what it takes. And he said Nikki Haley's not tough.
Well, time out, player. Not only did President Trump say that, Chris Christie, the latest Trump hater, said that on a hot mic. And she said that in a hot mic, that basically, something like DeSantis was panicked or something like that, and Nikki doesn't have it. And that's it, dude. I mean, so what are we doing out there? I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how they're promoting people that have no serious mathematical way to beat Trump as the way to beat Biden. And it almost reminds me of the old things they were saying about how you had to lose the primary to win the general with Mitt Romney or something like that. Just the silliest things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Look, I just want to say that I'm glad you mentioned Biden, because I want to bring this up. And what's happening now with Biden is, now, of course, Biden lives in Delaware, although he really lives in Washington, D.C. right now. I'm sure he goes between the two. What is happening now with Biden is, in the last couple of weeks, he's made multiple trips to Pennsylvania. He's in Pennsylvania today, I believe, for MLK Day, and they've started running ads here. And the ad that I have seen, the first ad I've seen from him, is about reducing methane and different things. So I don't know if the people involved in coal here are going to really like that, but that's the tack they're taking. That takes me back to 2020, and I believe I've mentioned this on the show before. The Democrat machine, Biden's campaign and some of these PACs and dark money or whatever, They ran ads for months and months and months and months hitting Trump on like Social Security and all these different things, and it hurt him here. And he didn't put up ads until very late. The GOP wasn't running ads. So we're already starting to see that now. And as you said, if you're spending money on the primary, you're not spending it on the general. And you're wasting time and you're wasting money. And I know what that did last time here, and I don't want to see it happen again.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, no doubt about it. I think there's a lot to that. And this is why I think, I really feel like the tenor of the campaign and the tone of all this is going to change so much tonight. We see the vote because nobody of serious credibility, in my opinion, is putting out there that Trump's going to lose tonight. Now, they're going to play the expectation games of he didn't win by big enough and all that type of stuff, but I am not seeing anything that shows that Trump's not going to win tonight. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. I have not seen anything. Well, I have seen, like, people that are, I don't know if they're bots or they're just, I don't know what their status is, saying like, oh, my gosh, maybe DeSantis could surge the very last point class to a win. Nobody credible believes that. I haven't seen anybody saying that. That really.
Well, this is what I don't understand. How do you have some of the people that say, "Oh, DeSantis is going to surge, and it's going to be DeSantis"? Because again, like Iowa was so, and a lot of people were so all in on DeSantis, right? So if DeSantis is surging, how is Haley surging? And because Trump's numbers are actually going up, and right? I mean, like the math doesn't add up because Trump has the highest numbers of anyone ever. If you believe the polls, and we'll see what happens tonight with the caucus, but Trump has the highest numbers of ever. How is Haley and DeSantis surging if Trump's numbers have gone up? I don't get it. Show me that math.
That's a great question.
Right?
Look,
this is the nonsense that we're dealing with. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. What I've seen online, from videos, and of course we know videos can be a little bit not exactly what the story is, the way it's edited. I have actually seen Vivek filling up spaces. So if you asked me one non-Trump person who might be surging, I honestly would pick Vivek.
Right,
now,
I agree.
Does that mean he's going to finish over like 10%? I don't know. I will tell you this, and maybe I mentioned this earlier. I don't remember if I did. Elon Musk, of course, owner of Twitter/X, is friends with David Sachs, who a tech investor or whatever. I think they both were in PayPal. And they're both promoting Vivek. And they're playing the expectations game. They're like, oh, Vivek, I think he's going to do better than people think tonight. I think it's going to happen. Now, of course, their credibility, since we're talking about credibility, their credibility took a hit because they were just supporting DeSantis before. As you said, it's kind of hard to go from one to the next so quickly and keep your credibility. So, but this is the angle, as we both know. Everybody has their own unique interest. They have their own interest in promoting Vivek. I know Elon's met Vivek at a fundraiser dinner. I don't know if he donated to him, but they met, they talked. You pick your person, and you go with them, which was before it was DeSantis, and now it appears to be Vivek. So, every camp is projecting that they're going to do so great. They're going to exceed expectations, except the Trump camp, which seems to be playing down expectations. Which
I think that's smart. I think that's a smart thing to do, honestly, because Trump's going to win because the only way they take the win from him is it's not by enough. He should have won by 60 points, right? I mean, so that's the thing. And meanwhile, we've got all of this lawfare type of stuff, some would say, and not allege anything, but you have a lot of these other things that are kind of falling apart against Trump.
Yeah. And
we have this whole thing of over the weekend, the DA there in Atlanta went to a church and was talking about, being, I think I didn't see it. I didn't read the quote, but I thought I heard something about not being perfect, or I don't know. There's different reports about the boyfriend, or with it being hired and a lot of money. I mean, what's happening in Atlanta? This is all this. I mean, let's start with that. What's going on there?
Okay, so the district attorney here is the district attorney of Fulton County, which is Atlanta, essentially where Atlanta is, and her name is Fannie Willis. And it's supposedly the allegation here. And I don't know, I haven't read everything about the story, but I know the basic outline. The allegation here is that she hired her boyfriend to help either prosecute the case himself or be the lead prosecutor or help or whatever it is. And I believe that person's name is Nathan Wade. And like you said, she went to the church and it seems like she kind of confessed. That's just my own opinion. I mean, based on what she was saying. She wasn't denying.
Wow.
Let me put it that way. And this is obviously, I mean, you would think it would jeopardize the case. I mean, because of, I'm not a lawyer, but mistrial. I mean, obviously you could have problems. I mean, so that's what's happening with that. But yeah, I mean, look, and I'll tell you something else. We're coming up. I mean, there's so many cases and everything. We're coming up again with that woman, the E. Jane Carroll, whatever her name is. That case is restarting. Melania Trump's mother just passed away, and
our condolences or best wishes go out to the Trump family and Melania's
100%.
family, of course.
She seemed like a great woman from all accounts. And Amalia Knobs, that was her name, from Slovenia.
And we also want to give a shout out to MLK Day. We'll talk about that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. He asked the judge if he could have like a day extension to go to the funeral, and the judge didn't grant it.
Wow.
I mean, what are we doing here? So it seems like kind of like a circus element is coming into this whole legal stuff with Trump. And, look, people aren't stupid. If they see these things and they don't like what they see, that's going to help Trump. And as we have seen throughout this whole election cycle, it has helped Trump. It has helped Trump because people feel like he's getting a raw deal. And that makes people rally to him rather than I guess the concept was if he has a bunch of legal matters, people will abandon him. Well, the opposite has happened.
The people have not abandoned President Trump, and they're definitely, stepping up to support him. And in fact, Steve D said that about one of the rationale, some would say maybe excuses or whatever for why DeSantis isn't doing it. It all started with Alvin Bragg sitting there. Whoa, wait a minute. I thought, what about all the corporatist insider pollsters that were telling us that when people poll Trump, and the ruthless podcast and stuff, with Josh Holmes, former chief of staff for Senate leader Mitch McConnell, right? That when they poll, if I remember, I'm not alleging anything, but if I recall correctly, my opinion. When they poll people, and if they hear that Trump is convicted, a jury convicts him, then it's going to be. I thought all this was supposed to hurt him. I thought no one was going to, Chris Christie, who's going to vote for a criminal, and just wait, and Joe Scarborough, like, the stuff was the 14th Amendment was premature. It's like, dude, it just feels like there's not to be conspiratorial and everything, but when you start hearing that, does it seem like someone's got a roadmap laid out, a game plan possibly? We're not alleging anything. We're not conspiratorial or anything. But, listen, Newstalk 1040 audience, you're very smart. And all of these pieces are crumbling down. And when you've got Jonathan Turley and Alan Dershowitz and people that are Democrats, but are adherents to the law or huge, big-time law professors, when they're saying this stuff is garbage, that's basically my super-duper high-level paraphrase. That's got to tell you something, Paul. I think it's all falling apart. Go ahead.
It definitely tells you something. Look, I actually saw on CNN the other day, of all things, of all places, which is not exactly, in my opinion, a bastion of Trump support, they had a cry on, basically saying, or maybe this was on Fox talking about what happened on CNN. Basically, a person on CNN, their legal expert, was saying, that Letitia James case in New York seems like it might be political. Yeah. Maybe. And so it's like if they're admitting that, the average person's going to probably think the same. I mean, Trump has had experts testify in that case. He had Deutsche Bank testify, which I think is the main bank involved, said they loved him as a client. There is no so quote-unquote victim here. They thought his portfolio was amazing. Some neutral, like a financial expert was like, his stuff, like the way he handled stuff is absolutely like flawless. So what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing here? And so, look, if people think that an injustice has occurred, then, they're going to take that into account. And I know that the pollster that I bring up has said, look, basically a lot of this stuff already seems like it's baked into the tape, because he talks to, of course he talks to individuals when he does his polling.
Sure.
Somebody told him, yeah, I know all about his legal stuff. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, nobody cares.
I don't care about the legal stuff.
I'm not saying nobody cares, but I mean, a lot of people, right. Yeah, and no less than Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, who's done some real estate, says that basically what Trump has done, that real estate people do worldwide, and that basically you always pump up your, you're gonna cast your real estate holdings and assets in the best light and make them seem that they're great, whatever, and the bank's gonna come back and they're gonna try to cut you back, and there's a negotiation, and this isn't just something that happens all over the U.S. This is something that happens worldwide. Now, you can believe that, you can not believe that, but here's another person who's, very wealthy, if not right up there, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, the biggest name, or certainly one of them, of Shark Tank, who's telling you on a business program, not on a, entertainment program, not on Shark Tank, on a business program, that this is what it is. So, and there you go. And again, where's the harm? All the investors have been paid back. Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. Like, this is, and when people see this in the 14th Amendment stuff in Colorado, and the Secretary of State in Maine, and now, the DA of Fulton County, and the boyfriend or something. I mean, it just, and the juror who, the foreman is, I wanted to, with her media tour on one of those things out of Georgia. I mean, it just starts looking pretty bad. And here you've got President Trump and Frank Luntz. Frank Luntz looking like, exasperated. Yep. I mean, liberal hive mind there on YouTube. This is what pain looks like, and it shows Frank Luntz. I mean, you tried everything. They didn't think he could do it. He should have been ruined. He should have been finished. And he's right there because the American people are smart. It's not corporate control of the media. Why do you think they want to get control of the internet? Why do you think the people want to control Newstalk 1040 in this audience, and LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook? Because people are now talking to each other, and they're able to break through this corporate media noise. Paul, go ahead.
I'll just say two quick things, coming close to the break about.
Do you agree with it, Paul? You still with us?
New York. Yeah, can you hear me?
Anyway, I'm talking about, this is what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with all kinds of stuff. We're dealing with bad weather. We're dealing with technical. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who knows? Maybe the corporate media shut us down right now. It doesn't matter. We're still rolling because everything is on the line tonight. This is such a big year. And Cat Williams talked about that. Cat Williams talked about on his interview. We still need to talk about that because you're talking about the most viewed podcast from Shannon Sharp and Club Shay Shay with Cat Williams, where he was just excoriating Hollywood and some of the biggest names like Kevin Hart and others. That 2024 is the year where truth is going to reign. And I feel like that's the case. And now, right now, we're dealing with the Iowa caucuses, and we're dealing with where the votes are going to come in and people's voices going to be heard. There's just so much astroturf, and there's so much spin, and there's all this inside baseball. And I think what it is, a lot of it is people have felt just tremendous pain. For the last, 3 some odd years. Now, coming up on 3 some odd years, and it's just a really, really bad situation. Not to mention the foreign policy things going on. I mean, we're talking about Ukraine and Israel and Gaza, and there's serious issues now, and Taiwan. Look at that. We have a new president of Taiwan who is, seems like they're more for independence, and immediately President Biden, we're not for independence. Like, wait a minute, what? I mean, like what's our relationship with Taiwan? I understand, strategic ambiguity and all. I understand all that, but dude, we need you. And these are the people that say they are for democracy. How did democracy work out when, at Hong Kong? How's that working out? Unbelievable. Lots of talk about, hey, listen, I'm having some issues, with hearing the music right here. No big deal. Let's take a break right now. My name's John D. Villarreal. You're listening to John D. Villarreal Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM, and we will be right back in 6 minutes. Okay, what's up, everybody? It's me, John D. Villarreal. Last segment here, Iowa caucuses. I have good news and bad news. Good news is it looks like I'm going to be able to fix all my gear, which I figured I would. Bad news is not for this show. May do some further broadcasts later tonight covering the Iowa caucuses live show on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. I have to just spend some time here working on my mixer and everything like that. But listen, we're talking to Paul at Villarreal, and we're talking about this whole thing here. We got Trump and stuff, and here we go. Now we have got Fox News voter analysis. Yeah, you better start trimming the sails, buddy, because you're gonna have Trump winning big tonight. How big? I don't know. We're gonna find out. But there's a lot on the line here, Paul, and I feel like the corporate news media is starting to worry a little bit, buddy. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. Like, this is kind of how. I don't know what you want to say, kind of where we're at right now. You know, when you look at some of these stations or the New York Times site, they'll have, the top 3 people finishing. Well, those sites will have, they have Trump, maybe DeSantis, Haley. Well, they don't include Vivek. And now Vivek's campaign is complaining because he's not shown too. I mean, this is kind of the point that we're at right now. It's like silly season. But I agree with you. In just a few hours, we're going to start hearing things. We're going to start getting results, and that's going to send shockwaves through the race, through the election, and then we just go from there. We have to see what happens. Look, Trump's going to win. I don't think anybody doubts that. But we have to see the margin. We have to see the reaction, and we go from there. And New Hampshire is only 8 days away, so it's going to be quick. And I will tell you this. CNN and ABC are scheduled to have debates before New Hampshire, before the primary there, and Trump is going to have at least one rally. Maybe he'll do another town hall. Maybe he'll counter program the debates. I very seriously doubt he's going to do the debates. So if they want to make one more push for Nikki Haley in her probably best state of New Hampshire, well, we're going to see it over the next 7 or 8 days. And look, if Trump wins New Hampshire, I think we're essentially done. I mean, I think we're done anyway, even if Nikki Haley wins. The pollster that I mentioned all the time says, look, if Nikki Haley's going to win one state out of all the states, it will be New Hampshire. But that's like all she's going to win. So we'll see.
Oh, we're going to see what happens. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be very, very interesting. And I really feel like there's so much on the line here. Here's something in a Breitbart report. Georgia prosecutor Nathan Wade held in contempt of court last year. I mean, there's just a lot of more things happening here, and now J.D. Vance calling out Governor Kemp there. There's a lot of stuff that's starting to circle up.
Yeah, Vance was very animated. I read his tweet about this, basically saying, look, this is absurd. I think Vance is a lawyer himself. Basically, this is absurd, and Governor Kemp, I know you, this is what he's saying, not me saying. Governor Kemp, I know you don't like Donald Trump, but you need to do something about this. So, yes, the backlash is growing.
What do you think how do you think it all plays out, Paul? Where do you think it ends up? I mean, in other words, like how fast? Here's what I think. You've got Bill Kristol that is endorsing Governor Haley. You had over the weekend, right? You had Senator Rand Paul that started the Never Nikki campaign. Okay, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was good.
That was pretty good, right? I mean, so what do you think is gonna? I mean, I think Governor Haley is losing a lot of credibility very, very fast. Oh my goodness, peeps! I don't know that I should risk it at all. I really don't know that I should risk it. But I might have the new setup working. I may need to dial it in a little bit to make sure it's where it needs to be. But I don't want to. If Paul goes on a run here, I might try something. I don't know. We'll see. But in any event, it's a little risky here, but I mean, hey, who knows? And but it could be very much, like what we're going to see tonight, which is they've tried to do everything to stop Trump, and yet he's able to sort of wade through it, and in the end, do what he needs to do. I mean, Paul, let's talk about this. how big of a victory does Trump need to have for the establishment to be able to say, okay, that's the dude? Or do you think it ever stops? Do you think that it's just, they're never going to stop with this? What are the numbers? Let me put it another way. Let me phrase it a little better way for the News Talk 1040 audience. What kind of results do you think will have what kind of impacts? Meaning that if Trump wins by over 50%, do you think that basically ends the race right there for all intents and purposes? On the other hand, if Trump doesn't do well, and let's say worst case scenario. Let's start with the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, Trump gets 30%, Haley gets 20%, DeSantis gets 15%. I don't think these numbers quite add up. Let's say 40, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But under 50%, Haley's a relatively close second, and DeSantis is close to that. Then what? How bad is this race, thrown into disarray, if you will?
First, let me just say this on the technical front. If you reset your thing, I might drop out, so just be aware of that, which is fine, but just be aware of that.
Sure.
Okay. What I think if Donald Trump gets over 50%, it's going to be a massive triumphal moment. They're going to declare that things are over. I think that the other campaigns are going to have a hard time disputing that. Nobody's ever done that. I mean, it's unprecedented. It will show his strength. It will show it. And I know the campaign is trying to do that. That's what they want to happen, even if they're keeping their spreads fairly conservative. I don't know what Governor DeSantis needs to feel like he can stick around. As I said, rumors are in the air that he's going to drop out after tonight. What would he need to reverse that decision? Does he need to finish second and get 25%? 30%? Not sure. But I don't know. As far as Nikki Haley, Governor Haley, what kind of result would she get that would really kind of flatten her prospects or her momentum, so to speak?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me start with this.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul. Let's get it. I mean, you can't get inside these campaigns and get inside everyone else's head. But what do you think the game plan is right now? What do you think, Nikki? Do you think the Governor Haley thinks she can win? Do you think DeSantis thinks he can win? Why would they stay in? What are they trying to stay in for? Is it just for more exposure? Speaking to me, is it just a safe face? Do you think that something's going to happen to Trump and they're going to be able to pick up the pieces? Let's try to game plan this as much as we can.
Yeah, look, I think the game plan is I know DeSantis' game plan was earlier. I'm pretty sure of this based on what I have been told. This is not me saying this is what people have said to me, that he was kind of waiting around or hoping or thinking that these legal matters were going to have a significant effect on Donald Trump. Right now, right where we are today, the only trial that looks like it could potentially get done with a verdict before the election is the January 6th trial with the special counsel, Jack Smith. And I've seen a variety of very good lawyers who don't think that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, and none of the other trials have verdicts, you don't have anything on them. You don't have the podcast, Ruthless podcast, the polling stuff. You don't get that. So I think that would be why people would stay in. They're hoping for that scenario. As far as the Governor Haley, look, I don't know what it would take for her to drop out tonight. I don't think there's any chance at all she's doing anything before New Hampshire. That's her state. That's where she wants to kind of make her stand, and it's only 8 days away. If she's third tonight, she'll just simply pivot off of that, say it's not the electorate that's favorable to her. She'll hit the trail in New Hampshire with Governor Sununu and so on and so forth. And the people behind her, the donor class, I'm sure they're going to keep spending money on her, including the number of donors who seem to be primarily people who spend on Democrat candidates.
All right, Paul, let me ask you a question real quick. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm going to need you to close the show, okay? So we're going to take a small risk. You called in the station, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm gonna
Yes, I
try.
did, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Then I'm gonna try to shift my audio and see if we can't get this new microphone here working for a second with the mixer. We're gonna try it real quick as we close this thing out. Here's the deal. So, I want to know what you expect tonight. I want to know what you expect. If Governor DeSantis, if Trump wins, let's go through the next couple weeks. Trump wins tonight. It doesn't have to be 50%. I think if he beats the next challenger by even 10 points or 20 points, like that's 10 points, you're going to say, oh, it's close. But let's say he beats Governor Haley by 15, 20 points or more, and DeSantis. And if it's particularly if it's Trump 1, DeSantis 2, Haley 3, and he beats them by 15, 20 points, I think that's a big, big statement. And then if Trump then goes on and wins New Hampshire, I think this race is basically over. I already think it's over, but do you agree with that? And what do you expect the spin's going to be if Trump wins tonight? And I'm going to try to switch over here, and we're going to see if this works.
I absolutely agree that if Trump wins Iowa and wins New Hampshire, the race is essentially over. I don't think any serious person would disagree with that follows this stuff closely. For tonight, just because it seems like the media is not necessarily the biggest fans of President Trump, I think they're going to try to spin it as an underperformance. And probably, when you saw Governor Reynolds earlier today on Fox, I think if he gets below 50%, which in my opinion is a very likely incident, they're going to say he underperformed. They're going to say he underperformed the polls. They're going to say that a majority are against him in the Republican Party, and so on and so forth. Is it going to affect anything in New Hampshire? I doubt it. I think what will affect New Hampshire is him winning tonight. I think he will get momentum from that. Other people feel the same. But we're just going to have to see what the spin is based on what is the finish, what are the numbers. If you get over 50%, there's no way to spin that. There's just, in my opinion, there's no way you can spin that. But what if he gets 40 and DeSantis gets 27? Do they spin that? Oh, yeah, they're going to spin that. There's no question about that in my mind. But we have to see. I mean, it's, I have to figure out who to watch tonight because you want to try to get the best information you can get with as little spin as possible. Probably I'll just be on Twitter looking for tweets from the Trump campaign. What do they think? What are they saying? And we'll go take it from there. But look, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen tonight. And because it's a caucus and not a secret ballot, that does add an extra element. That does add an X factor. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I know what people want to happen, and every little fiefdom wants their own result. But we don't know what is actually going to happen. And we have to wait a couple hours to find out.
Okay, can you hear me now on the air?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, we finally did it. I'm still working with levels and everything here in terms of what I'm able to hear, but I think we finally were able to do it. We finally got the system working here. I'm still working with some different things. Part of it is maybe beta software. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares and wants to hear about that, but we finally are able to make it work, which is fantastic. So hopefully this sounds good, and hopefully it's somewhat worth it, or it will be worth it in the weeks coming on here. But listen, this is it. This is it. My bottom line is this. I think this is going to be a big Trump win tonight. And I don't think there's going to be any good way to spin that. I really don't. I don't think they're going to try. They're going to try to well, he didn't win by enough. And it doesn't matter. I just don't see that happening or being effective because I think that Trump there's too much going on here. A win is a win is a win. And you're not holding any other previous candidate to these same standards. And I think that Trump's going to win big tonight, Paul. That's all the bottom line for me. And when he does, go ahead. I was going to say when he does, you're going to have to cover that. And then it becomes Trump won, but not by enough. And then what? Right. Then the same thing's going to happen in New Hampshire. And then what? Then he's going to win by more in South Carolina. And then what? The people, because what's going to happen is you have these influencers and the people, whatever, but you're going to have elected officials like Congressman Byron Donalds and Senator Rand Paul and others that are going to start coming behind Trump because he's going to be the standard bearer. He's going to be the leader of the Republican Party, and you're going to have to deal with that. Bottom line, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just say this. Personally, in my mind, if Trump gets 45% or above, that's a massive win. And there really is no way to spin it. But my prediction is the spin will be you didn't match the poll numbers of 52%. That'll be the spin, but it just won't matter because that's a historic number. Also, I want to say this. The third contest in the primary season is Nevada. And I think we explained this before. Nevada has both a primary and a caucus. The Republicans do a caucus, but they are, I think, there's a mandated primary there. And so what's happening is they're only allocating delegates from the caucus. Well, guess what? Nikki Haley is not doing the caucus. She's doing the primary. And what the pollster said, who was a political insider, said what they're going to do is hopefully Nikki Haley wins the primary, even though she gets no delegates, and they're going to pretend that she won. Like that's meaningful going into South Carolina. So they're going to try to create meaningless momentum. So that's, watch for that. That's probably coming up. Trump, like the caucus numbers are unbelievably like 70-5 for Trump. So that should be a no-brainer there. But just look for that spin. That spin should be happening. It's as we both said, if Trump wins Iowa and New Hampshire, I think that's it, and that's done. And I think some of the donors and the new Haley supporters are going to basically throw in the towel because you have to. The writing's on the wall.
The writing's definitely on the wall, there's no doubt about it. And like you said, you're going to have to throw it out because what are you going to do? Trump is the leader. This is what I'm saying. Like all of the positioning and I don't know, what do I say? All the game playing, if you will. I'm not alleging anything, but all of that stuff has got to be over very, very soon. Because the bottom line is that if it's going to be Trump and Trump is the winner, that's the winner, dude. That's it. At some point, like all these stories in position, we're saving democracy and he's a criminal and convicted and surging but both are surging, like it's just not going to matter. And people have had enough of it, Paul. This economy, people are very concerned. They're worried. They have a right to be worried. And there's no doubt about it. Hey, I do want to say something here real quick before now we got the audio. Finally, this has been a whole thing. And I know we're running ads and we're sponsored. This show is sponsored by Maserati of Sarasota, Alfa Romeo of Sarasota, and Sarasota Subaru, part of the Doherty Auto Group, and General Manager Tim Reher over there. But listen, we've got all kinds of cool vehicles and cool stuff to see. We're still putting it doesn't matter that the holidays are over. That doesn't matter because, well, we do have a Martin Luther King holiday today, and that's fantastic. And we are very appreciative of Dr. King and everything that he's done and fighting for and advocating rather for equality and liberty and freedom and everything like that. And that message of the content of your character, it rings as true today as ever. And we appreciate what he has done and the sacrifices and the contributions that he's made to America and the world. And we honor Dr. King, absolutely, and we definitely appreciate that. So it is definitely a holiday today, but whether it's Christmas, Martin Luther King, Dr. King Day, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, doesn't matter what it is, we're putting deals together and trying to put some deals together here at 7641 South Tamiami Trail in Sarasota. And you can come see us at Maserati Sarasota. Come see the new awesome Maserati Grecale, or the Ferrari Fighting MC20. You can obviously call us at 941-925-1234, 941-925-1234. Come see me, Tony, the team over there, Tim Reher, all the rest of them at Maserati of Sarasota or Alfa Romeo of Sarasota, and it's a great time. If you want to see some amazing cars, you want to take a test drive in a Levante or Grecale, it'd be awesome. I'm telling you right now, if you're looking at anything out there, I don't care if it's in that class, BMW, Audi, it's an X3, an X5, a Porsche Macan, a Porsche Cayenne, you really need to do yourself a service and stop by, jump behind the wheel here, see what it's like, check out the technology, check out the space, check out the looks, and see what we can do for you. That's all I got to say about that. But listen, Paul, here we are. It's happening. It's happening tonight, and I can't wait to see the crying. I can't. It's not that that's not what I'm about. I'm not into all of that. But I'm just saying, like, There's been so much gaslighting. There's been so much punking out of Trump and Trump supporters. There's been so much those rubes and dissing, if you will, of whether it was remember what happened in Ohio with the train derailment. How long did it take people to get there? Look at what they said about Rand Paul and J.D. Vance and Boebert and MTG and Matt Gaetz and all these things. It's been nonstop. And now people want to say, hey, you know what? We want to be accounted for. It's our time to say what we think about the direction of this country and who we want to lead against as the loyal opposition to go up against President Biden in this election. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, as you said earlier, you have to cover the story, which is what is the result. And almost certainly the result is going to be Trump winning, and you got to cover that. And, maybe some people perhaps don't want to cover that, but they have to cover it. Look, we can see I think it's fairly clear what the outlined strategy is for the Democrat Party, President Biden. They're kind of, in my opinion, kind of painting various narratives about President Trump themselves through the media, about MAGA and so on and so forth. But you only do that, in my opinion, when you can't run on your record. And at some point, people are going to say, you know what, was I better 4 years ago or right now? And right. I know a whole bunch of people feel like they were better 4 years ago.
Well, there was something about just the inflation and how bad it was and how high it was, okay? And basically it was something to the effect of, the last 3 years, the average prices have gone up 17 point something percent. That is astronomical. A lot of people have lost their jobs in tech and in media and other places. Have your wages gone up? Have you a 17% in the last 3 years? Did you get a 17% raise? Right. Because if you didn't, you're falling behind. That's the
John, I think you dropped out. I don't know if I'm still in the air.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Yep. Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button. That was my mistake. I apologize. But they said, the great James Carville said, it's the economy, stupid, with the Clinton campaign. And people are going to vote with their wallets. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, because this is people's lives and they're feeding families and they're trying to do what they need to do. Okay? Not everyone signed up for the super extreme radical crusade, if you will, but it's more than that. It's not just the economy and all that. It's more than that. It's people's kids. It's the schools. It's the border. Want to talk about democracy? How about being able to vote for who you want to vote for in Colorado or Maine or anywhere else, or having these individual states mess up the national elections? Yes, everything's on the ballot, and it all starts tonight. And I'm so glad that we've been able to share this with you here on the John D. Villarreal radio show and live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We've, like the voters in Iowa, we've had to swim through and fight through and go through the blizzard. And we don't have the blizzard and the freezing cold here in sunny Florida, although the sun is going down now as we're getting into evening here on Newstalk 1040 audience. But we've had to brave it, and I think the voters and the caucus goers there in Iowa are going to have to brave it, and we're going to see who's got the motivation, which supporters are really motivated to go out there and caucus up and get the win. I think it's going to be a Trump victory. And I think it's going to be a Trump big victory. So that's what we got to say. Hey, show number 30. Can't wait for show number 31. Can't wait to talk about it. I might do some extra stuff with Paul later tonight, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. For now, for this week, we're going to say goodbye. This is the John D. Villarreal radio show here on Newstalk 1040 AM. For Paul and everyone at Newstalk 1040, thanks so much. Stay blessed. See you next week.